Ever wonder why that Red Ryder BB gun became the most famous Christmas present in cinema history? You'll shoot your eye out, kid. A Christmas Story wasn't just a nostalgic holiday film. It was a passion project that almost never happened. Filmed in freezing conditions with a child star who didn't want to be there, and became a cultural phenomenon that nobody, not even the studio, saw coming. These are 20 weird facts about A Christmas Story that reveal the wild journey from page to screen. And stick around for the bonus fact because what happened to that house will blow your mind. Let's dive in. Fact number 1. Bob Clark had been trying to make this movie for over a decade. Director Bob Clark didn't stumble into A Christmas Story. He obsessed over it. After reading Gene Shepard's semi-autobiographical stories in the early 1970s, Clark became convinced this material could become something special. Not a typical Christmas movie, but a memory piece. Something true. The problem? Nobody wanted it. Studio after studio rejected the concept. A kid wanting a BB gun? Nostalgia for the 1940s? Where's the hook? Clark had just directed Porky's, one of the highest-grossing comedies of all time, and he still couldn't get this movie made. He pitched it everywhere. He revised the script. He packaged it with different actors. Finally, MGM agreed to a modest budget with one condition. Clark had to make another comedy for them first. The director, who could have cashed in on Porky's sequels forever, instead used his leverage for this. That's not a business decision. That's love. Fact number 2. Gene Shepard wasn't just the narrator. He controlled everything. When you hear that warm, knowing voice narrating Ralphie's story, you're hearing author Gene Shepard. But his involvement went far deeper than recording booth work. Shepard wrote the screenplay with Clark and Lee Brown. He appeared in the film as the man who tells Ralphie to get to the back of the Santa line. And he maintained creative control that most authors never get. Shepard spent weeks on set. He approved every period detail, every piece of slang, every visual gag. When something felt wrong to him, too modern, too Hollywood, he spoke up and Clark listened. This wasn't an adaptation, it was a collaboration between a director who understood cinema and a writer who understood truth. The result? A film that feels less like a movie and more like a recovered memory. Shepard had been telling these stories on his radio show for years, refining them, shaping them. By the time cameras rolled, he knew exactly how each moment should feel. That voice isn't just narration, it's authority. Fact number 3. Peter Billingsley didn't want to be there. 9-year-old Peter Billingsley arrived in Cleveland a full professional, over 100 commercials, multiple TV roles, perfect timing, perfect marks. But he did not want to spend Thanksgiving making this movie. Production delays pushed past the holiday he had been promised at home. Weather forced reshoots, schedules slipped. And this kid, who had been working since toddlerhood, finally hit a wall. He complained. He dragged himself through scenes. He openly declared the situation unfair. Clark didn't soften things for him. Instead, he reframed them. Ralphie, he explained, was frustrated too. Surrounded by adults who dismissed him, a world telling him no, dreams kept out of reach. Billingsley should use that, channel it. And he did. That simmering glare Ralphie gives when adults shut him down, that pulsing annoyance behind the eyes, some of it wasn't acting at all. It was a 9-year-old genuinely fed up, and Clark captured it perfectly. Fact number 4. They shot in Cleveland winter, with no climate control. Most Christmas movies cheat winter with studio snow and warm Los Angeles afternoons. A Christmas Story did the opposite. Clark insisted on real cold, real breath vapor, real freezing discomfort. Cleveland delivered all the way into brutal November temperatures. The wind sliced through costumes, streets iced over between takes. Many scenes were shot on real locations with no heating options for cast or crew. The actors weren't pretending to be cold. They were cold. Watch the boys walking to school, shoulders hunched and faces pinched. That's not performance, it's biology reacting to freezing air. The crew built makeshift warming stations, but they barely dented the chill. Between takes, the cast sprinted inside buildings for a moment of life-saving heat. The authenticity shows. Every puff of breath, every crunch of real snow, every stiff movement shaped by cold. And yes, the flagpole scene was shot in genuine freezing temperatures. Not for hours, but long enough to make everyone nervous. Fact number 5. The tongue on flagpole scene used a hidden suction tube. The iconic flagpole scene, equal parts hilarious and horrifying, required practical effects far more inventive than high-tech. The crew built a custom pole with a hidden suction tube. When young Scott Schwartz placed his tongue against the metal, a technician triggered the suction, holding him in place without actual freezing. It wasn't painful, but it was definitely strange. Schwartz had to maintain that position through multiple takes as the suction varied in strength. Sometimes it released too soon. Sometimes it held tight, and he signaled urgently for assistance. The kids around him, extras, cast members, curious locals, struggled not to laugh between takes. What sells the moment isn't the gimmick. It's Schwartz's commitment to panic and the other children's mix of shock, fear, and fascination. The realism of the scene fooled generations into believing he truly stuck his tongue to metal. Meanwhile, Cleveland locals strolled past the set baffled at a child attached to a pole. Fact number 6. The leg lamp was based on a real object. Maybe. The leg lamp is the film's most recognizable image, gaudy, glowing, and proudly displayed like high art. Gene Shepard claimed it came from a childhood memory, something he once saw glowing in a bar window. But no evidence has ever surfaced. No photos, no witnesses, only Shepard's storytelling. The art department embraced the uncertainty, building multiple versions, some for wide shots, some designed to break cleanly, others wired for stronger light. Even the fishnet stockings required careful stitching to survive heat from the bulb. Today, replicas sell for hundreds, and a 50-foot version stands outside the A Christmas Story House. Real or not, Shepard's lamp became legend. Fact number 7. Melinda Dillon truly disliked the leg lamp. Melinda Dillon didn't need to fake her disgust toward the leg lamp, she genuinely disliked it. Crew members noticed she avoided looking at it between takes, especially once the lighting made its garish glow impossible to ignore. Her restrained, passive-aggressive reactions came naturally because she understood the universal truth. Everyone knows someone who loves something embarrassing. The lamp-breaking scene required exact choreography and several backup props, but Dillon insisted they get it done quickly. They nailed it almost instantly. Her visible relief afterward wasn't just acting, it was sincere joy at being finished with the glowing monstrosity. That authenticity is why the scene feels so real. Fact number 8. McGavin and Dillon stayed in character between takes. The Parker family feels real because Darren McGavin and Melinda Dillon made a quiet pact. Stay loosely in character between takes. Not deep method acting, just enough to inhabit their roles continuously. They spoke to each other as their characters, reacted to frustrations through those lenses, and maintained the marriage's rhythm even off-camera. This subtle immersion built chemistry no rehearsal could manufacture. When McGavin battles the furnace, Dillon's weary patience feels like the reaction of someone who's lived through countless similar disasters. When she manages household chaos, his glances show pride and affection shaped by shared history. Their partnership turned fictional parents into a believable family. Fact number 9. The Chinese restaurant scene was largely improvised. The Chinese restaurant sequence wasn't tightly scripted. Clark wanted spontaneity. Many of the actors were local performers who improvised their delivery, including the famously off-key Deck the Halls rendition. The children's reactions were also genuine. When the roast duck appeared with its head attached, the kids weren't acting, they were authentically startled. Billingsley's mixture of revulsion and curiosity came naturally. McGavin and Dillon leaned into their characters' exhausted acceptance, creating one of the film's funniest and most human moments. The scene works because it captures a truth about holidays. When everything goes wrong, families adapt, and those chaotic moments often become the memories we cherish most. Fact number 10. A snowstorm nearly killed the production. Midway through filming, a massive snowstorm shut Cleveland down. Production stalled for 3 days as cast and crew sat stranded in hotels, watching the schedule collapse. Child labor rules and school hours made every lost day a crisis. Studio executives suggested shutting down or relocating. Clark refused. He rewrote the entire schedule overnight, shifted to indoor scenes, and secured a small extension to finish key exterior shots. Ironically, the storm that nearly ended the movie created the authentic winter visuals that define it: real snow, real breath, real cold. Clark's determination saved the film. Without those shots, A Christmas Story wouldn't look or feel the same. Fact number 11. The Bumpus Hounds were trained show dogs. Despite their on-screen chaos, the infamous Bumpus Hounds were actually highly trained show dogs worth thousands of dollars each. Their natural instinct was obedience, not mayhem. The real challenge was teaching them to break their training, charging through doors, swarming around actors, and creating controlled frenzy. Trainers strategically placed meat treats around the set during the turkey raid scene. The dogs weren't eating the real bird. They were following precise cues. But coordinating that many animals and capturing the human actors' authentic reactions required multiple takes. Between shots, these wild dogs sat calmly, accepting pets and snacks, completely unlike their on-screen personas. The contrast delighted the crew. Ralphie's family fleeing in terror from dogs who were, moments earlier, politely waiting for instructions perfectly embodies movie magic. Total illusion built from disciplined professionalism. Fact number 12. The bully fight scene was filmed in one take. Ralphie's explosive fight with Scut Farkas is the emotional breaking point of the film, years of frustration erupting at once. Clark wanted the moment raw, unscripted, and emotionally unfiltered. He rehearsed the physical choreography, but urged Billingsley to think about every real irritation in his life. The take they used was filmed after lunch, when Billingsley's pent-up emotions had tightened into an almost electric tension. When Clark called action, Billingsley launched forward with startling authenticity, screaming, flailing, and losing all composure. Zach Ward later admitted he saw genuine anger in the boy's eyes and briefly thought he might be seriously hurt. When Clark yelled cut, the set fell silent before erupting in applause. Billingsley immediately snapped out of it and asked, exhausted, if they got the shot. They had. No scene better captures the film's ability to translate childhood emotion into cinematic truth. Fact number 13. The department store Santa was a real mall Santa. Jeff Gillen, the actor playing the jaded department store Santa, wasn't pretending he had real experience as a mall Santa. Clark found him through local casting, immediately recognizing in him the perfect mix of exhaustion, impatience, and reluctant holiday cheer. Gillen knew the routine. Endless lines, crying kids, forced jolliness. He brought that weary authenticity to every moment, most notably the now iconic shove down the slide. He didn't exaggerate or parody the role, he simply played it as truthfully as his real seasonal work had taught him to. His flat prophetic delivery of "You'll shoot your eye out, kid" became the film's most famous line because Gillen infused it with lived-in inevitability. Ralphie meets Santa hoping for magic, but Gillen shows him the working-class machinery behind Christmas. It's funny, sad, and painfully real, exactly the blend the film thrives on. Fact number 14. The BB gun was a custom-built prop. Actual Red Ryder. BB guns from the 1940s looked nothing like the nostalgic vision Gene Shepard described. They were smaller, plainer, and visually unimpressive on camera. So the prop department built multiple custom versions, each one bigger, shinier, and more dramatic. They enhanced the wood grain, brightened the metal, adjusted proportions, and created versions for different functions. Lightweight ones for the child actors, heavier hero props for close-ups, and functional models capable of firing BBs safely. The decision to enlarge the gun slightly was intentional. Childhood memories often exaggerate scale, making treasured items feel monumental. By building the BB gun to match Ralphie's memory, not reality, the film taps into universal nostalgia. Today, replica manufacturers base their designs on the movie prop, not the historical model. The fictional Red Ryder didn't just overshadow the real one, it became the definitive version in popular culture. Fact number 15. The decoder ring scene was inspired by real childhood betrayal. When Ralphie decodes his long-awaited Little Orphan Annie message only to discover an advertisement for Ovaltine, the disappointment is crushing. That emotional beat wasn't exaggerated. Gene Shepard experienced it himself as a child. He remembered the ritual, saving box tops, waiting weeks for the mail, carefully decoding messages, only to find corporate promotions instead of secret adventures. For Shepard, it was a defining betrayal the moment he learned that magic often masks marketing. The film captures that heartbreak perfectly. Billingsley's devastated "a crummy commercial" lands because he plays it with genuine grief, not comedic irony. The scene represents something universal, childhood dreams deflating under adult realities. Shepard included it not only as satire, but as a reminder that nostalgia often comes bundled with disappointment. The memory stung, but it endured. And because it endured, it became iconic. Fact number 16. The furnace scenes used a real coal furnace. Darren McGavin's legendary battles with the basement furnace were filmed using a real, fully operational coal furnace, something modern productions would never risk. The flames were real. The smoke was real. The heat was intense enough that the crew had to keep a safe distance. When the furnace door opens and that orange glow hits McGavin's face, it isn't lighting, it's fire. McGavin improvised most of the gibberish profanity, crafting a comedic rhythm of near-cussing that feels both chaotic and family-friendly. Clark encouraged him to push further each take. The result is an unforgettable portrait of domestic frustration that feels authentic because, in many ways, it was. McGavin sweats, struggles, and fumes for real. It's one of the clearest examples of the film's philosophy. Embrace discomfort to capture truth. Fact number 17. Almost no one saw the film in theaters. A Christmas Story debuted in November 1983 to lukewarm box office numbers and minimal studio confidence. It earned around $20 million, not a flop, but far from success. Critics were divided. Audiences seemed uninterested. The studio barely marketed it. The release was small. Competing films overshadowed it instantly. Clark and Shepard watched their passion project fade quietly from theaters. But something unexpected happened. Television airings, late-night slots, holiday reruns, quiet cable showings slowly built a grassroots following. Families taped it on VHS. Word spread person to person, not through advertising, but through affection. The movie didn't find its audience found it. That organic rediscovery transformed the film from forgotten release to cherished tradition. Its success wasn't manufactured, it was earned. Fact number 18. Ted Turner saved the movie. In 1997, Ted Turner made the bold decision to air A Christmas Story for 24 straight hours on Christmas Day. The idea sounded absurd. Who watches the same movie repeatedly? But Turner recognized how families consume holiday entertainment. Christmas movies aren't watched once. They play in the background while people cook, gather, nap, unwrap gifts, and revisit favorite scenes. The marathon became an instant tradition. Families tuned in throughout the day, catching different segments. Kids memorized lines. Adults rediscovered forgotten jokes. The movie didn't just grow in popularity, it became embedded in the cultural fabric. What flopped in 1983 became, by the early 2000s, the definitive Christmas film for millions. Turner didn't just broadcast a movie, he resurrected a legacy. Fact number 19. The film's house became a museum and a place you can sleep. The Cleveland house used for exterior shots was purchased in 2004 by a devoted fan who restored it meticulously to match the movie's interior and exterior details. He opened it as a museum, complete with a leg lamp in the window and painstaking recreations of set pieces. But the expansion didn't stop there. A house across the street was purchased and converted into a guest residence where fans can actually stay overnight. Families now sleep in the world Ralphie once inhabited, walking the same street, looking out the same windows. The neighborhood has transformed into a holiday pilgrimage destination. Visitors pose for photos on the porch, buy replicas in the gift shop, and reenact favorite scenes. A regular Cleveland street became a cultural landmark because the movie resonated so deeply that fans wanted to inhabit it, not just watch it. Fact number 20. Peter Billingsley never stopped working. You just didn't recognize him. After A Christmas Story, Peter Billingsley continued acting steadily, but mostly in supporting roles and small parts enough to maintain a career, not enough to remain visually iconic. He grew up, changed appearance, and quietly transitioned behind the camera. What many fans don't realize is that Billingsley became a highly successful Hollywood producer. He worked closely with Jon Favreau, producing Iron Man, Four Christmases, Couples Retreat, and other major projects. He didn't flee from his childhood role, he embraced it gracefully. He appears in sequels, attends anniversary events, and speaks warmly about the film's impact on his life. Billingsley isn't Ralphie anymore, but he carries that legacy without being overshadowed by it. He built a career defined not by nostalgia, but by genuine skill. Today, he's a respected professional who once played a memorable kid, and he honors both identities equally. A Christmas Story started as one man's memories, became a movie nobody wanted, failed commercially, then somehow transformed into a cultural touchstone. It plays every Christmas because people choose to watch it, not because anyone forces them to. That's rare. That's special. The film works because it tells the truth about childhood, the disappointments, the dreams, the way adults never quite understand, and the weird beauty of ordinary moments elevated by time and memory. Behind the scenes, the production embodied those same qualities: struggle, persistence, hope, and unexpected triumph. Now you know the stories behind the story. Go ahead, like and subscribe, and remember, in the heat of battle, you never realize what you're doing until it's too late. Merry Christmas, and don't shoot your eye out.